Yo, NGS, this is Fat Man DD1, and I just wanted to say, my dude, I totally agree then disagree with you because Ben Affleck, his movies go down and down. If you have seen all of them, then you've probably seen The Town. And when I mean seen The Town, I mean truly watch The Town and tell me, because everyone says in The Town, he's just like Batman in a sort of way. So, my bad. I said just like, so I'm gonna contradict that last part. He's in a sort of way like Batman. One more thing I gotta realize. It's Ben Affleck we're talking about. We're taking too much from where Ben Affleck is to where he isn't, to what's happening, to what's going on. And come on. Nobody knew who the fuck Henry Cavill was. But for some reason, you're trying to compare Ben Affleck to the God rest in peace Keith Ledger. Now then again, when you mention Keith Ledger, you gotta mention that was Christopher Nolan's Batman. And as they said, there is no more Nolan Batman. That's just history. And everyone out there kind of can say that wasn't Batman. And even I can say that wasn't Batman. It was Batman, but in part 3 where Talia stabbed him, he didn't smack the bitch. He didn't do the classic Batman hits. He didn't do that. That wasn't Batman. That was Christopher Nolan's world, and I liked it. I watched it. I was skeptical about it. There was no Robin. There was nothing but Alfred and his bitching, and Batman and his wounds, and superheroes and Joker and blah blah. But his villains were what made the movie. Basically, the second Batman movie should have been Batman, Rise of the Joker. But comparing that to Ben Affleck is totally different. Now, I don't think you're giving him the benefit of the doubt. Ben Affleck is also a director. And before they made the announcement at Comic-Con, let me just go off subject one more time. At Comic-Con, before they made the announcement, a lot of people said they're making this announcement too early. That means they already have their Batman. At the time, they already had their place Batman. Don't get me wrong, Keith Ledger, this and that and that. They already had their placed Batman. And if it wasn't Ben Affleck, it wasn't Ryan Gosling, it wasn't the other person, and definitely wasn't Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer turned it down without a doubt, a given shot. Now, I'm gonna make another video about this whole Ben Affleck thing, and I'm gonna rant even harder in my entire life, and I don't want to turn it into a rant, but I don't even think you know this. Ben Affleck is a true comic book person. He's a true comic book reader. He reads the comics. I don't mean back then, because back then he was poorly cast. Everybody says back then for Daredevil he was poorly cast. Now Daredevil is supposed to strike fear and hearts into all men and women and little children. But then again, my dude, it's been like so long, and you can watch Daredevil back and forth. I could watch the director's cut you have, and then watch the original and say they both basically kick butt in a totally different style. But it doesn't mean I actually have to sit down and watch Elektra and say this was awesome, which it wasn't. But I'm just giving a point of view because everyone's bashing the guy. Where, in other hands, he's a good actor down the line of what he could have did in Argo. And if he brought that same intensity he brought in Argo to Batman, but made it also dark and gritty, okay, cool. Now, I keep saying Batman Year One. Now, it's not Batman Year One, it's the Batman The Dark Knight Returns, the comic book, where he fights Superman, and they draw from it. Now, I hear what you're saying that, oh, but Superman's not even a superhero. He's not even Superman. And his repercussions in the movie was hardcore. Myself, haven't seen the movie. I didn't even boast about it much. Like, I talked about my Iron Man, and I hadn't even seen Iron Man 3, but my video got more freaking views than I ever thought about. I haven't seen Wolverine, but I already knew the storyline like this in the back of my head, and everybody told me what it was like, and I'm like, I knew it. I could have sat down and wrote the fucking Wolverine for anybody, because I knew the movie before anyone else did. Didn't have to look it up, watched enough trailers to find out what it was about from the get-go. So it doesn't matter. Not the Geico gecko, just the hardcore gecko-ness of what's going on there. But then again, it's how they did it. Alright, Zack Snyder made this movie gritty, powerful, scary, understandable. Now, in Man of Steel, he was more human than I've ever seen a human. He was more lower. Like, Superman is supposed to be a god among men. They made him low. Like, they made him manly. They did a good job. They did this. Not Superman in a comic book walking with people. Like, no. You do this as Clark Kent. What's the damn difference? Is Superman gonna make a difference, you asshole? The comic book writers and readers are getting slow with it. In the Man of Steel, they basically made him more human. They gave him more vulnerability. Except there's no weakness to kryptonite. I mean vulnerability. I mean, he can shake your hand and crush it. He could do this to a dog and its head comes off. He sneezes and the back of the barn explodes. Superman's powerful as fuck. When he comes, I bet it's like Hancock. Shoots straight to the moon and blows a hole in it. But that's Superman. He's human-ish, but he's the alien from outer space. This ain't Goku, and I actually don't believe they could make a freaking Dragon Ball Z movie, because Dragon Ball Z has been done before. It's a really old movie, like on VHS. Go check it out if it's still out there in bootleg. But it's like a really old Japanese Dragon Ball Z movie. You'll never find it. It's out there. It's a long time ago. If someone actually has it, it's a friend of mine, and I want that movie. It's freaking ancient. But this movie takes a lot from it. Now, they made him human, and then they gave him the suit, and then they gave him powers, and then they made him fight Zod, and then, alright, fine. I actually believed, hey, I think Superman could have lured him away, or could have punched him away from, I don't know what happened. The Superman could have done more than it felt like he could have done. But as this is an action superhero movie, they had to make it, cost-like. And then I think they were building up for this Superman versus Batman, because it felt like it. When you watch the movie, whenever I see the movie, I'm gonna and just seen the movie, but you already felt some type of build up in the movie. Even when I was watching the trailers at the time, I felt like it was going somewhere. And they always go somewhere with these movies. Destruction, mayhem, pain. They were taking this movie into a different direction. Alright, they showed Luthor Industries, whatever. And then they showed a Wayne satellite. And I was like, okay, Bruce Wayne's on top of this. So, at the time, they didn't show these characters because they were just building up this world, as everybody says. Oh, we're building up the world. We're building up the Superman world. I don't think they were building up the world at all. I think they were establishing what everybody knows already. This is Superman. You know it's Superman. We know it's Superman. We just shortened his title to the Man of Steel because everybody knows Superman's other AKA is the Man of Steel instead of Superman. So they just shortened it and it said, this is who we know it is. We're going to give him what we give him, and there's not going to be no kryptonite. Alright, fine. No kryptonite. Now, basically half of the armor that he beat off of Zod and all the spaceships and everything, what happens next? After the credits roll and everything ends, who comes from the woodwork? Luthor. And then he goes to Batman. Or Batman finds out that he's a threat. They're trying to make this seem more grounded in the universe. And okay, I believe the next Batman Superman movie, it's not even called Batman vs Superman, by the way. It's the Man of Steel 2, but they wanted to engulf Superman's logo, like right there. Batman's logo actually engulfs Superman's. I'm just done with that. They're actually showing you who's really on top right now. So Batman. And I'm gonna show the logo right here. And no joke, you take a second to be like, this movie's not Superman no more. Because Henry Cavill's established as Superman. There's a whole bunch of movies about Cavill. Immortals, so on and so on. No one gives a fuck about those movies. There's a whole bunch of movies about Ben Affleck. Argo, he made Best Picture, Best Writer, Best Director, blah, 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 blah. Worked with an entire team, and then now no one gives a fuck about him. But when you put him in a superhero costume, a whole fucking team just bitches and bitches and bitches about, oh, we don't want him, he was Daredevil. I'm like, I'm sorry. Even I could say Hugh Jackman could have been like freaking a different Predator. But for some reason, other actors didn't raise their fucking hand. And they already came to Ben Affleck about directing this in the beginning. And then, well, I think Latino Review, Clever Movies, and then other like other movie places were given information. And then I heard about this information. I've been on top of this since day fucking one. A lot of people have been eating him out. For some reason, why am I defending this guy? Because I believe he could make a good Batman. Like, come on, they offered, well, they quote unquote rumoredly offered Christian Bale a stack load of a freaking house deck load full of money to come back and play Batman. And Christian Bale was like, no. He doesn't want to play Batman. Because he's like, I stretched out my voice for these fucking fans. I did my thing. Where is he? No. Like, and there are true Batman fans out there cursing Christian Bale's name because he's whack as Batman. And you're gonna tell me Ryan Reynolds putting on a freaking decoder ring wasn't that bad? I like the movie. The movie wasn't the greatest thing ever. I liked watching it because it was humorous. Alright, I'm like, finally. It took you guys this long to put a Green Lantern movie on. But for some reason, when you do better in your comic book adaptation cartoon movies, your freaking live action ones fail, and I don't get that. I get mad at that because I see you put more work in the animated than you put more work in what the fuck I'm looking at right here. Because the animated could have been like a TV show, but that was just horrible. So giving it another shot, I support Ben Affleck. Then again, I think you're like a bigger comic book fan than me. I take that to the wise because I'm more with DC like a little bit right now, but I'm way behind Marvel because Marvel's storyline was picked up. Alright, DC could see money signs. DC, like, they got the big money signs popping right now. They got the money flowing, like they want cash because they want their cash cow to grow. They're seeing what freaking Marvel's doing, and then what DC isn't profiting off of. Like, DC doesn't have the brain power to stretch it out, and they can't copy what Marvel did because all the fanboys are gonna rip it. But the fanboys are ripping it right now. Most fanboys were happy to hear this was out, but then they were like, oh, wait, Batman, Superman, Man of Steel 2, wait, how are you doing this? And then I realized it. When everyone said about this movie, Man of Steel was actually building up to a bigger movie. So in Man of Steel 2, it's not Batman versus Superman, it's just Man of Steel 2 gonna be quote unquote whatever else is there. Could be Batman versus Superman, could be we don't even know who else Lex Luthor is, but we're still getting to what gives this movie pride and joy. NGS, all I'm trying to say is, all I'm trying to say is the movie can't be that bad for everyone to just doubt it. Alright, give from the fact that also Ben Affleck is a director. He's also won Best Picture for Argo, writer, and he's also done his fair share with a big team. I think Ben Affleck could work with Zack Snyder, work with whoever else is on this movie, and then give it a fair shot. He could make this movie seem so real that we ourselves, as comic book fans of both Marvel and DC, could shut up in our boots. Because once we see what's happening, we're not going to step foot again and question the companies. We're going to step and wait. I didn't like that Ben Affleck was Batman at one point, but then again I thought about it. I was like, Ben Affleck, Batman, Ryan Gosling, no, Armie Hammer, no, you flipped us off. Yeah, Ben Affleck. And plus, who didn't want Ben Affleck? Well, a lot of people don't want him now, but then again, there's a lot of true fans out there that are just, giving him a shot. Then again, Henry Cavill, no one said shit about Henry Cavill. Oh, he's not brolic, he's not buff, he's not the Superman stature, Then again, he looks just like the old school Superman, up to date. Like, rest in peace. A lot of like certain actors have came to this role, and Superman Returns back then was just like, it was god awful. Some people say it was god awful, but when I watched it, I was like, I liked it. Like, this movie was kind of good. But then again, they scrapped that and they didn't continue their DC universe. I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Every time they do it, it's just like it's like another comic book or another freaking movie, animated movie. They keep scrapping their old ideas and making it new. Ryan Reynolds would have made a good Flash, but then again, I believe Ryan Reynolds should have kept his dumb ass in check and kept doing Deadpool. Like, stop trying to get work and do Deadpool, my friend. Like, for real. No one believes this is going to happen, but I believe Ryan Reynolds was in a whole predicament about Deadpool. It doesn't sound like it, but I believe he was in a whole predicament about Deadpool. And, come on, Deadpool may sound so much like nothing, but Ryan Reynolds as Green Lantern failed. And then again, just like Ben Affleck as Daredevil failed. We could have had more in touch with these characters, but the actor doing his job, trying to figure out what the fuck is going on, is who we're with. I may have not liked that Ben Affleck's getting pushed out, but he's Batman, and I'm gonna accept that. But I think, then again, how long is it gonna take them to do what they did with Keith Ledger before Ben Affleck? Ben Affleck getting some publicity right now. The best publicity you can give him is right now. So he's sitting back, his balls just dropping from this. No one can say nothing. I can't say nothing. You can't say nothing. But I believe I'm ranting too much, so I'm gonna cut this short, like right now. NGS, I'm gonna accept him as Batman. I want you just to get a little more on your research, because I heard he's a big comic book fan. Like, okay, that comic bookness should have helped him back then with Daredevil. I don't think he was a big comic book fan back then either. But he said himself he stopped playing comic book roles. He's like, I'm not doing no more. And he was beside himself. He's like, I don't want to go back to in the reboot. I don't want to like be a guest star in a reboot at all. So what did you expect the guy to do? Did you expect him to just walk away from a role like Batman? He shook his head and said he thought about it. And directors came to him and they told him about the character. They told him about the deepness of probably who Bruce Wayne is to Batman, or Batman is to Bruce Wayne. The man in the mask and the man out of the mask. It's the same shit. Bruce Wayne is basically the mask. Batman is the hero. So putting it together, Ben Affleck probably absorbed that, looked at the comic books. I bet Ben Affleck has a whole bunch of Batman comic books talking about the origins of Batman, talking about Batman, Superman, whatever. If Ben Affleck can do this role, I bet we can all give him a shot and stop bitching like little girls, because I bet it's going to be good. I'm Fat Man. Check out my videos. Peace.